Okay, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. I'm probably going to talk for non-stop for a long time, so if you see a couple cuts here and there, which I try to avoid, that's going to happen anyway at some point. But today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 movies of 2025 so far. We just hit the halfway point of the year. We're pretty much just going to be going over like a little retrospective of the past 6 months and just see what's come out, what I would recommend, because I'm gonna throw in some honorable mentions as well. But I just feel like this is gonna be interesting to look at to see how much has changed within the past how much will change, I should say, in the 6 months that are gonna finish up the rest of the year. But yeah, I just figured before we get into the list itself, these are ranked. If you want to see my list of every movie I've seen in 2025. I think there's about 36. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of them yet. I'm behind on quite a few things. So even if they're not on this list, if it's not on this list, I haven't seen it. Plain and simple. But I am pretty much, if you want to see that and a lot of other lists on Letterboxd that I have, it's going to be linked in the description. So you can just go there and look if you want to spoil yourself now. But we're going to get the honorable mentions out of the way. Just mention these real quick. The first one is Ash, which is a little cosmic horror movie directed by Flying Lotus. I thought it was a lot of fun. It didn't really open to fanfare, just kind of got put in theaters. I'm pretty sure it was a Shudder thing or an IFC. But it's almost like a murder mystery set on a space station on a distant planet. I'm leaving it at that, but it is a very fun idea for, a movie that you've probably seen before, but it's very similar to Alien in that way, but it has a very surreal style that I think pairs up with Flying Lotus's other ventures into music, as well as another movie he directed called Kuso. So I would like to recommend that. The other one is that I thought, after some rearranging, I thought for sure would make this list, but it actually didn't. And that's Ballerina, the John Wick spin-off movie, which really surprised me in a way that I did not think that a John Wick spin-off movie could have this epic feeling to it. But it really did. I really enjoyed Ana de Armas in the main lead role. It's just more John Wick style action. If you like any of the first four movies, this would be right up your alley. Go check it out. The third one is a movie that I didn't see in theaters. I caught it on streaming later, and that was Last Breath, which was that movie where the diver gets stuck, like he gets lost at sea, and it's got Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu, and I think the guy that gets lost, his name is Finn Cole. And I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed this one. It was very tense. I think the pairing of Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu really was a combo that I did not expect and really won me over. So I would love to see them work together again on something. But again, not really breaking any new ground. This is one of those movies that's based on a true story. So it's got that tense element to it because I didn't know the story going in. So I thought that was a good way to do it, and I'm pretty sure it's on streaming everything now because I missed it in theaters. So go watch that if that sounds interesting to you. The fourth one on here is Novocaine, which is that action movie with Jack Quaid about he can't feel any pain. There's always that kind of if anything, it could be described as Deadpool light, where it's like an action comedy, a lot of emphasis on that comedy and very, very situational action almost. But out of the ones that have come out in recent memory, at least from this decade, because this style of movie is getting pretty popular, I feel like this is probably the best one that isn't made by someone directly involved with John Wick. I would say Bullet Train is better than this, but for the two directors of this, and I can't remember their names, but they made a movie called Villains with Bill Skarsgård and Michael Monroe that I would recommend as well. This was just a fun action comedy that we have been getting a lot of them recently. But this is one of the better ones, I think. If you enjoy any of the Deadpool movies, really, this is one that I think you should check out. And the last honorable mention we're going to have here is probably the most low-key one in terms of, maybe people have seen it, because I feel like this would have had a much bigger audience, and that is Opus with Ayo Edebiri and John Malkovich. I had seen this in the theater as well, and it kind of fell off the face of the earth after that. I don't even know if it got a physical release, and A24 released this, so they're very on top of it. But if you've seen the movie The Menu with Anya Taylor-Joy and Ralph Fiennes, Opus is cut from that same cloth. It's set in the music industry, but really what elevated it is Edebiri. I think Ayo Edebiri. I don't know how you say her name. That her and John Malkovich really elevate this movie because they ended up bringing a really good energy to this, especially Edebiri, which this is the first time I had seen her leading a movie. I mean, obviously I've seen The Bear, and I think she's really good in that, but this is the first time I've seen her and go, oh, she's got like leading material. Also, she was also in Bottoms, but also that's a completely different character compared to her in Opus. But if you are a fan of like a not really niche, but horror comedy angle kind of thing, another thing of if you like The Menu, this is definitely a movie that you should watch. I don't know if you prefer it or not. I still kind of prefer The Menu, but it's a fun look into how weird the music industry is sometimes. And those are the honorable mentions of this video, and let's just get right into the top 10. We're gonna start things off with number 10. I've gone on record saying that I thought Thunderbolts was going to be a pretty big surprise to people. I know a lot of people that weren't really excited for this movie, but some were big enough fans to go and watch it and were really surprised at how good it was. But I would say I was still pretty excited for this. There's a history of this. You can go look at my reaction to, I think, the final trailer for the movie. But I thought this movie was going to be pretty good going into it. It had the same team as The Bear and Beef, the two shows, and I just really think this movie won me over by the end. Would I say this is the best movie out of, the post-Avengers Endgame lineup? Maybe not. It's up there, but I would not say that it's my number one. But I feel like a lot of the character writing in this and how they implemented cast out characters from other Marvel projects, implementing them into this was a really interesting idea. And I think the MVP here is Florence Pugh. She's great in pretty much everything I've seen her in, and this is probably her best performance in a Marvel project. Not like that she's given a lot to begin with, but they've always known how to, whether it's in Black Widow or the Hawkeye series, they've really had a good handle on how to use that character, and I think this is the best version of that. I also think Lewis Pullman does a great job in this, and just the writing's great, which is weird to say for a Marvel movie these days. Like, as much as I am a Marvel fanboy, like, it's weird to say that the writing is great in these movies, but it really is for Thunderbolts. I'm really sad that it kind of disappointed, at least money-wise, because I think this is one of the MCU's best movies in a hot minute. At least since Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which may not be a high bar, but hey, people really are excited for that movie. So I'm going to take it. I really enjoy Thunderbolts. I'm kind of surprised it's not higher, but I just think the other 9 movies on this are better. So speaking of that, we're actually going to go to number 9. I was very excited to find out that Questlove, as his next documentary after The Incredible Summer of Soul, which came out in 2021, one of the best movies of the decade so far. I'm pretty sure it's on Hulu and Disney Plus, at least in that area, that his next feature would be a full documentary on Sly Stone, which is a great idea. Seeing that style of a very ambitious documentary at first, at least with Summer of Soul, being whittled down to still a good aspect of that documentary and getting its own feature-length movie was very interesting to see. I watched it the day it came out on Hulu. I'm very sad this didn't get any sort of theatrical release. But I really thought Questlove's editing style specifically, which I'm not good at talking about documentaries. That's my weak point. So it's a bit of a stretch right now. But I really loved how the editing style of Summer of Soul just really floods this movie with, floods Sly Lives, I should say. I gotta specify. With the editing style of this really floods this, and there's so much love here for Sly and his legacy, and seeing all the different interviews with people that have worked with him, members of the Family Stone that are still with us, and people that are inspired by him. And because the alternate title for this is The Burden of Black Genius, and there's one of my favorite scenes of this year so far is seeing Andre 3000 say what he think is what his own personal answer is to what is the burden of black genius, and it's really incredible, and it feels like we're getting a bit of rose tinted glasses now with Sly, because in between right now and the release of this documentary back in February, Sly Stone actually passed away. So there is a weird aura to this movie now that it's almost like Questlove or everyone involved in this movie knew that he was close to leaving us, and there's a certain amount of respect here in this movie for him that I really can't get over. And I feel like even when it comes to the end of the year, I feel like I would be obligated to at least keep this in the top 10, because it is so incredible to see that there is actually some sort of respect of a legendary musician anyway. We got to see all of his highs and lows here that I feel like not many documentaries or biopics of, people would not show, just not even mention it, which is why I'm worried about that Michael Jackson biopic. So I really appreciated that, and that's why it lands in this top 10. And now we have the next movie at the spot, number 8. Companion was one of the first movies I saw, at least out of new releases, one of the first movies I saw in a theater this year. And it was one of those Monday mystery movie screenings. And I ended up having a lot of fun with this. I'm not going to spoil what the premise is in just this little blurb, but I really enjoyed seeing Sophie Thatcher in a lead role. I've been kind of waiting for the thing, because maybe I've seen her in the other things here or there, but I'd seen her in the movie Heretic last year, and I thought, oh, I want to see her in more things, because I'm not really interested in Yellow Jackets. That does not really seem like my kind of show. But I thought she was great in this, and Jack Quaid also really playing against type in a lot of the roles that he's been cast in recently. But this is just a good idea for sci-fi horror, almost, well, low sci-fi. We're not living in like a futuristic world here. It's still like set at least in 2025. Like the movie's set in 2025 now, so it's basically low sci-fi, and it just ended up really running with a fun premise for a horror movie. There's a little bit of comedy in there. It's not really a horror comedy in the way that like Shaun of the Dead is a horror comedy or anything, but it just ran with the premise of this that I'm not going to spoil, and I had a lot of fun with it. And sometimes that's what we need, sometimes just a fun horror movie. Out of all of those, this is out of like the fun horror movies, I prefer this to Final Destination Bloodlines, which is also on this list. I thought that was a good movie. Didn't make this list though. But I really had a lot of fun with Companion. So that is staying at number 8. And my number 7 is... What an interesting pairing of movies that director Steven Soderbergh and writer David Koepp has gotten this year. Because this came out in March. A few months before, that movie Presence came out, and had the same director, Soderbergh, and Koepp writing. And while Presence I was not a fan of, was not my cup of tea, just did not like the writing in that at all. Soderbergh really wasn't the problem there. I really enjoyed his directing of almost like drone shots throughout. Black Bag, though, has a completely different presentation. It's very sleek. I love a good spy movie, but this is not the Mission Impossible spy movie. I'll get to Mission Impossible later, though. This one is more of a sleek spy romance movie that don't really get made anymore. You take a look at any picture of this, it is meticulously designed. Pretty much everyone could be pulled out of a fashion catalog, which I thought was funny. There are little funny bits here, but outside of like the global world-ending threat that is out there in this movie, this movie really focuses on relationships. And while I didn't really expect that, I knew this wasn't going to be an action movie. I didn't expect it to be like this kind of movie, but I really welcomed it. And I really thought a lot of the performances were good here too, especially Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. It feels like they were born to do this kind of movie, which is sort of crazy because I'm sure they've done a movie like this before. But like watching this along with Regé-Jean Page, the guy who played Orson Welles in the movie with Gary Oldman. I can't remember what that was. Was that Mank? I think it was called Mank. And I think, oh no, what's her name? I'm gonna forget names. Marissa Abella, that's her name. Seeing all of them just like really fall apart during like what should be a relatively easy mission was a lot of fun. And the dialogue was really sharp too. But this is also one of those movies where if you miss a line of dialogue or miss a scene, you're not really going to get what's happening. So, and even if that, it's like 90 minutes or maybe less than that at least. So, I had a lot of fun with this. This was honestly a really good throwback to me of, we should maybe get more of these. And although most of them probably aren't going to be as good as this, so maybe we don't need them. All right, and we are on to number 6 now. No, this is not a joke. I feel like I'm gonna lose all of my credibility with this one, but please hear me out on this one. This entire movie, being this high, is credited to director Trey Edward Shults. I am very won over by him. I saw this in the theater at like a fan screening or something. There weren't even a lot of people at that, so when I saw that screening was empty, this movie was kind of doomed. But I'm a sucker for psychological horror. I very much feel like this was going to be an ambitious idea, and yes, I do know that I'm aware that this is going to be about 100 minutes, maybe a little less than 2 hours. I don't remember the exact runtime of The Weeknd stroking his ego. I knew that going into it, but this does not feel like The Weeknd went to the Trey Edward Shults and said, "Hey, make this overlong music video for me," which at times it kind of feels like that. But knowing that Trey Edward Shults pretty much took control of this project, really ramped it up in terms of like excess, really, with the presentation, the sound especially is really great in this, and just really cranking it up to a very psychedelic, overwhelming level. And that honestly would not have the same feeling if you just watched it at home or on a phone or something. It is a very theatrical movie and very weird. This is a very weird movie for someone as famous as The Weeknd. And I deeply appreciate that, fully aware that this movie is not perfect. But I very much feel like Trey Edward Shults' direction really elevated this movie for me. I also really like Jenna Ortega in this role. This is my favorite performance of hers that I've seen. I feel like she had a lot to work with in this, maybe except for the one scene where she goes like full Patrick Bateman basically and starts talking about the Weeknd songs. But really, this was such a fun movie. I get why it bombed. I get why many people don't like it. It just worked on me. I don't know what to tell you. And now, after that, though, we are getting into the big boys. We are getting into the top 5. So let's not waste any time and start with number 5. This is something interesting. I've seen this movie 3 times. The first time I saw it, I did like it, but I was a little thrown off by it. It would have not... If I went and made this top 10 video right after I saw it, this movie would not have been in my top 10. Plain and simple. But I saw it 2 more times in theaters. Took some buddies of mine to see it. And it really just clicked with me the other two times. To me, I don't even know what it is with this one. I personally don't think this is the best Mission Impossible movie either. I don't think it was ever going to. Nothing's ever going to beat Fallout, in my opinion. I know. Basic take. I know. But there's just so much of this that is so fascinating. Like, down to, editing choices, showing the other footage of other movies except for Mission Impossible 2. I caught that. And all, like, to weird performances, the actual presentation of the movie, there's almost a surreal quality to this, which, at least compared to Hurry Up Tomorrow, is a lot more hidden in The Final Reckoning, which I do appreciate. It is a new element to this that I never really expected would seep into this movie, even compared to Dead Reckoning, which was formerly the part 1 to this part 2, so they are very connected. But I feel like that surreal quality ended up really melding with the movie as I rewatched it twice. I've seen the movie 3 times now. And of course, you're getting the big stunts and action that's as good as ever, really. Like, come on. But that surrealness of going, oh, Tom Cruise is kind of taking on God in this, which is wild. That did not dawn on me until, I think, the 3rd time I saw it. That really just cemented it as, he is a psycho, and I can't believe he's doing these, but also, how cool is this guy? Although, as a finale, it feels like, oh, okay, this is time Tom Cruise is done, but they're leaving the door open for Mission Impossible to come back at some point. And you know what? I'm fine with that. This wasn't an ending that made me mad, or I didn't think I was satisfied. I am pretty satisfied with this being at least a long-term break for the franchise. So that's really all I need out of it. And now we're on to number 4.
I'm turning 48 and I think I need to...
Out of the last 4 movies I'm talking about, this movie, Materialists, and another movie that I'm going to mention soon, really snuck up on me and how much I liked it. I saw Materialists a little bit late. I had heard a lot of, it's causing a lot of discourse. A lot of people are loving it, or a lot of people are really hating it, and there doesn't seem to be any in between. And knowing that this is Celine Song, I really liked her movie Past Lives, but even when I still really enjoy Materialists, I might still prefer Past Lives. But Materialists, I really think nailed it. I was trying to think of another phrase, but I could not figure it out. But no, Materialists really nailed it. I feel like it used the star power of movies well, because you can look at, the 3 main people in this, Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. You can really look at them and go, oh, these people are really hot. But then, as the movie peels back layers of other people, you can see, oh, they're still people. And I feel like, which I didn't mention that in my review, but I figured I should mention it here because everything in my full review of Materialists still stands. But that was a new element to these movies that, at least with Celine Song's movies, at least compared to Past Lives, that I really think helped this movie. Because obviously we are seeing a lot of these 3 actors in things, especially Pedro Pascal, who is on fire right now. But we are seeing... we're seeing these actors really just portray these characters and peel back more and more to them. And it is really just so fascinating to see how relationships have become so managized, or manageable to the point where you can't section it off to your height, your eye color, how long your legs are, or something. Like weirdly specific things that personally I don't think should matter in a relationship. But it's being treated as a game now. And I feel like Materialists really, really ended up having a really good reflection of that. And just really... Yeah, no, I keep saying the word really a lot. That must be because I really, really liked Materialists. It's one of my favorite scripts of the year. I still feel like Celine Song is a really good writer, and on top of that, a really good director. I've seen a lot of people say that she's a good writer, like a great writer, and I agree with them, but not a lot of people mention her direction. It was very nice to see a good combo like that. I don't know how far this is going to go in terms of award seasons, but I'm expecting this to stick with me for a long time. And now we are on to number 3. And this was a tough one, but choosing between what would be number 3 and number 2 on this list. Because number 1 is pretty easy. It was pretty obvious to me. But seeing what what numbers 3 and 2 would be interesting. I did settle on The Life of Chuck at number 3. Mainly because I still have been thinking about this movie. I like that Mike Flanagan ended up really taking a good swing into drama. He's mainly known for horror, and he's damn good at horror. And he's adapted multiple Stephen King stories, so now we are getting this basically full-on drama from him, and this ended up really working. There is still a couple of those Stephen King elements in here, or Stephen King isms, as I think I saw someone when this movie came out say, like, there's like a couple Kingisms in here. But now that gets melded in really well with this story about life and being able to live it and be taking control of what you think your life should be. With your life should be. And I just feel like Tom Hiddleston and Jacob Tremblay and, oh no, I don't know the third kid's name, Benjamin something. I'm gonna hate that I forgot it. But the 3 actors that play Chuck in this movie really end up solidifying him as a great character to me. And really, that's what I look for in a movie. This also has a good ensemble of like Chiwetel Ejiofor, Mark Hamill, just a lot of good actors doing a damn good job. And that could make up for a lot of really good movies. If you got a good story, a really good direction here in case of Mike Flanagan, and even like a good script also from Flanagan. But why this is in number 3, I had it at number 2 for a while. Why this is at number 3 though is because what's at number 2 and number 1 really has stuck with me in terms of watching it and just getting locked into the movie. These are the 2 movies right now that I think, well, as well as The Life of Chuck, it got really close, but I had to switch it with number 2. But I really think this is what I'm going to remember, like these top 3 movies. What I'm going to remember 2025 by, at least right now. So with that, we're going to go to number 2. I had to put this at number 2. I rewatched it recently. I actually got the 4K disc for it. I wish I brought it down with me for the video itself while I'm recording, but I actually got the disc. It was my first A24 shop order. But no, Warfare's number 2 here. And what really stood out to me on both watches for this is that it is taken very, very seriously. I'm not a war movie guy. I can only watch so much of that stuff before, like, I just gotta turn something off. I mean, I feel like I have to watch the big ones at some point, but what really grabbed me about Warfare is the premise of it. You're taking one of the co-directors, Ray Mendoza, one of his missions that he was with on his with a group of Navy SEALs. He talked to them and he repieced basically what was happening in this mission, or at least what they remembered from it, because memory is always foggy, especially when you deal with something. It's something like PTSD, and you can see, and you have the movie from there. Once the movie starts, it is non-stop 90 minutes of hell. It is just pure hell. It is a very tough watch. Pretty much there is no score in this movie, so the entire time you are hearing every scream of pain, every bullet being fired, every explosion, voices overlapping very often, and you are just seeing like hell, and this is what war should be. oh, this is what war is. It does not take a direct stance in this movie of war is good or war is bad. It's just war is, period. And I really, really like that approach to it, but it is also a horrifying look at it. I'm taking away from it as a very anti-war movie. That's what I'm taking from it. That is my experience watching this movie. Although I have seen people saying that this is a pro-war movie, but like that's up to you. It is a shockingly subjective movie and a pretty big risk from Mendoza and also the co-writer and co-director Alex Garland, which really might be my personal favorite of his that he's made, because he's made a lot of movies over the years. But this one has really grown inside my brain of just being very, very realistic, and to the point where I would consider it a horror movie. Like, this isn't, I wouldn't consider it a war movie. This is a damn horror movie. And if you consider it that, this has to be one of the best horror movies of the decade. Like, it's almost no question. And I say almost because this is number 2. And what's number 1 is also a horror movie. Man, this might be the easiest number 1 movie of the year I think I may have ever picked. It was shockingly easy. I really thought, like, oh, I'm gonna watch Warfare again and just see how that goes, and then we're gonna see what happens with Sinners, because I saw that twice. I didn't feel the need to rewatch most of these movies because they've stuck with me. All of these movies, at least in some way, have stuck with me, and knowing that Sinners was probably going to be number 1, and if anything was going to top it, it was going to be Warfare, since, I saw that movie and it was number 2. I figured, even after watching Warfare again, no, I had to put Sinners at number 1. It was shockingly easy to put Sinners at number 1. What a movie. There's so much here at work with this movie. Even when it's unsaid, you have so many different elements here of, it's a horror movie, kind of a light horror. I mean, I would consider it a horror movie, but it is mainly a Southern Gothic crime thriller with supernatural elements, which I'm not going to spoil here if you haven't seen Sinners. People are going to be talking about it for ages. Also, a semi-musical, which it's not a musical where they would break out in the song, but music is a huge part of this movie. And I did not expect that from any of the trailers. It was such a left hook compared to the part where, especially in that one sequence around halfway in the movie, where you have Miles Keaton's character Sammy singing "I Lied to You." And if you've seen this movie and you know that scene, I actually have a question for you. Did that throw you off a little bit? when the thing in that scene happens? Because it did throw me off at first. But then as it went on, I got more used to it. And then the horror movie starts. And it is really great. This is just all really good stuff. But what I think cements this as number 1. And let me just say right now, I could be wrong. It is July 5th when I'm recording this. I could be totally wrong, but I think this is going to stay at number 1. I can't really think of a movie that's going to top this. But what cemented this as, oh, this is number 1, is the epilogue, where, oh, I can't even say it, man. Oh my god, I'm not going to say it if you haven't seen it. But it is technically a post-credits scene. But it is a full scene, like a 5-minute scene that ends the movie after the main credits, and then, like the stylized credits, and then, like, the wall of credits starts. Just, what an abs I like man. I was speechless both times I've seen that scene, and speechless throughout the movie, really, because this really feels like this is going to be the defining movie of the year for a lot of people, and it will be for me. But there's so much that's good about this. I feel like nearly everybody involved in this movie, whether it's the actors like Michael B. Jordan and Wonmi Musaku and Delroy Lindo and Miles Caton, first time actor for Sammy, and the direction from Ryan Coogler, all of like the costumes, everything, even the music from Ludwig Göransson, really just melded into something that I think is really spectacular. That it made me have the feeling movies can be made like that. You can do that, and there's not many movies that get me thinking that way. So, based on nearly that alone, I have to make Sinners number one. I feel like I have to. And that is going to round out my top 10 of this year. This was a long video. So I want you to let me know, what is your top 5, top 10, or simply your top 1? What's your favorite movie of the year? If there are a couple of other contenders in there, just talk to me. If it's fine if you disagree with me, because like, we're all people. We all experience different things. So I want you to let me know what your thoughts are on this list, what your list would be, if there's any movies that I missed, if you check out my Letterboxd list, because I know there's some I did that I just haven't seen yet that could potentially be on this list. So just let me know what you think, and yeah, that is going to be the end of the video.